So in today's episode of Maga's Glaring Hypocrisy, we're going to be covering a story here. There was a man who threw a sandwich at a police officer. And now this guy is public enemy number one to Maga. You don't do that to a police officer. How dare you throw a Subway sandwich at a police officer? Before we go any further, folks, I do not in any way condone what this dude does in this next clip. Take a look.
Oh! 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 It's fucking good!
Folks, I do not condone assaulting an officer. I do not condone throwing a sandwich at an officer. I do not condone spitting on an officer. I'm a person who believes in complying. I'm a person who believes in following the rule of law. I'm a person who believes in being peaceful. I go to protest. I go to town hall meetings. I stand there. I don't say two words. I stand there and listen. And if a police officer, for whatever reason, walked up and asked me to leave, I'm just going to be like, okay, because I don't want to draw any more attention to the situation and make it any worse. To me, I'm just like, I'm a person who's always just going to try my best to abide. But when you want to compare, like, okay, if you want to compare that to something much worse, I could easily play this clip for you. Not only did MAGA condone that, not only did they make every excuse under the sun for that bunch of bullshit, they also sat back and applauded while Donald Trump pardoned those people. While Donald Trump called them patriots, called them hostages, changed the word to the national anthem and sang along with them and made them out to be folk heroes, and they were beating cops. They were threatening to hang the vice president. These people have absolutely no respect whatsoever for the rule of law, and I be damned if I'm going to sit here now and watch them vilify this dude. His name, by the way, was Sean Dunn, and he was a worker for the employee for the Department of Justice. I want to read you a quote here that Pam Bondi said. I just learned that this defendant worked at the Department of Justice, no longer in all caps. Not only will he be fired in all caps, he has been charged with a felony. And said Mr. Dunn had been working as a trial attorney for the Office of International Affairs within the DOJ's criminal division, according to CBS News. U.S. Attorney for Washington, D.C., Janine Pirro, a Fox News person, said in a video announcing Mr. Dunn's arrest that he thought it was funny. Well, he doesn't think it's funny today because we charged him with a felony. So go stick your Subway sandwich somewhere else. Yeah, folks, we no longer, we used to refer to Fox News as state-run media. Now we have media-ran state. What is it, like 27 or 28? I can't remember the number of employees that now work with, or former Fox employees are now in Trump's administration. They're absolutely straining at a gnat and swallowing a camel on this one. My grandpa used to pull out that Bible verse on me all the time. And what it basically means is when you look over here and you frown upon, oh my God, he threw a sandwich, that's disrespectful, and then you accept what happened on January the 6th. And again, I don't condone either. I wouldn't throw a sandwich at a police officer. But there is a difference here that a lot of people isn't really, in MAGA, that they're not really thinking through. They're never going to think it through because their minds don't work that way. Their minds only works to go, what does Donald Trump tell us to believe today? Let's be sure and believe it. But what I would like to point out is, that dude, who was an employee of the Department of Justice, and a whole lot of people are fed up at the fact that Donald Trump is sicking the cops on the people. We tried to warn everybody this is what he will do. We tried to warn everyone if he would treat immigrants this way, he would absolutely turn around and treat you that way. We tried to say it. People are now pissed off. People are pissed off because now the National Guard is going to be on the street and they're going to be harassed everywhere they go. On the other hand, Donald Trump sicked his followers on the police before and sat back and watched it while they begged him to do something, while they begged him to stop it. And then he finally walks out there and just half-heartedly says, go home. And just for a brief minute in time, I'm not going to play the clip because it's disgusting, but for a brief minute in time, he sat there and said, well, you do not condone our movement. You do not represent us. But then he realized he needed them. Then he realized that he could not win if he had to go up against Joe Biden's record. This is just the truth, folks. If Donald Trump he was able to just capitalize on the most radical of people and just keep talking about how bad everything is. And folks, no matter how much work that we put in, if you sit and just ramble constantly about how bad shit is, that'll always resonate with people. People will always love to hear someone say it's bad out there. That's why I said in the previous video, hey, Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's actually kind of savvy right here. She's sticking to that everything's in the shitter, everything's bad. She's sticking to that because it will always resonate. It will always resonate with people. So we can sit over here all day long, and he knew that. He knew, hey, Joe Biden is going to accomplish shit. I can't run against his accomplishments because it's going to outshine mine. So what I have to do is talk about how bad everything is, and I have to just sit here and appeal to those types of people. Donald Trump had no problem pardoning those people, but he also had no problem with those people being his base. After saying, you don't represent us, he realized he needed them, and he used them to his advantage, and he still used them to his advantage. So I don't condone the dude that threw the sandwich, but you have no moral high ground whatsoever. Zero to get on to try to say now that you back the blue. If they spit, we hit. Bullshit. When it was the January 6th insurrectionists, the domestic terrorists that they are, it was, well, a lot of people were mad. A lot of people were just really upset. And I will play this hit one more time for the new subscribers, and I thank y'all so much for subscribing to the channel here. We're on the road to 1 million. But I've always made this point whenever someone says, well, what about all the protests back in 2020, man? I always say, well, the protest in 2020 was the protest is the voice of the unheard. So what happened back in 2020 was people who had not been heard, had had enough, and were speaking up. January 6th was not the voice of the unheard because they cast their vote in a free and fair election, and then Donald Trump brainwashed them into believing that the election was rigged. So it wasn't the voice of the unheard. Their voices was heard, it just didn't go their way, and instead of putting on their big boy pants and going on about their day, they went to the Capitol and they raised hell, and now they're going to sit back and flex. See how much we backed the blue? We got that dude that threw that sandwich. Until you get the dudes that beat the police officers over the head, you really need to stay quiet on this one. It's crazy to me, folks. It truly is sickening. It's sickening that they would go here, that they would be sitting here, oh, he threw a sandwich. Oh, my God, we love the cops so much. Now we're going to back the blue. We're going to stand up for this dude. It's absolute insanity. And it's such glaring hypocrisy that I truly don't see how they can even say it with a straight face. You know? I mean, it's like, hell yeah, man, Trump's calling in the guard, by God. Well, wait a minute, I thought he couldn't do it on January 6th. Well, that was Nancy Pelosi back then. He can now, though. That's the type of people we're up against, folks. That's why you have to remember that every time you go to vote. That is the type of idiot that we're up against.